Okay. This is the time of day when people start either getting hungry or sleepy, so I'll try to keep you awake. I hope so, because this is a training tool that I'm really excited about. Platforms have turned into a tool that now I'm looking at how can I live without them, because they are pretty cool things. So I hope to be able to share that with you. I didn't invent platforms. They're nothing new. And you know, if you look at the circus and you look at wild animal acts, you'll notice that most of those acts use platforms to contain the animal. And the reason is the animals aren't forced really on those platforms. They learn that the platform is a place where they can take a time out, but they like them. They like being up on platforms. So we can take advantage of the fact that animals, and in this case we're speaking mostly to dogs, they actually have a natural enjoyment of being up on something. And by having a tool that the dog naturally likes, it really assists us in quickly using it in a positive way. So they look forward to using their platform. It gives you an opportunity to shape a variety of behaviors, and it gives you an avenue to teach how to offer behavior, and I'll show you that. I've learned it to be a really good tool for an untrained dog learning how to offer behavior. And it really quickly is a way to introduce working at a distance. And in the sport I'm in of canine freestyle, working at a distance is something that as you go up in the levels, you really want to do. And even in competitive obedience and in other dog sports, people always find that difficult step of, well, I've got him trained to do it here, but I can't seem to get him to do it, 40, 50 yards away without coming towards me. And platforms are a fantastic tool for that. Another thing about platforms is it actually makes the dog feel secure. So their platform becomes a place that is a wonderful place to be. They want to be there. And it also is a way of containing them in that space. And for really energetic, active dogs, it's a wonderful tool to get them to just stand still. In the sport of freestyle, I run across a lot of people that one of the problems they have with their high-energy dog is it won't stand still. It's always in motion, and the platform can be a really good tool to introduce that dog into how to stand still and get rewarded for actually just not moving in any way. So little similarities between the lion act and freestyle training on platforms. So this is a video of just a variety of tricks that I trained using platforms for different reasons, most of them being that it contains the dog. And I guess that's not going to start automatically. There we go. So leg kicks is something I love to teach on a platform because it teaches the dog how to stay in their own space. So here's Cabo back learning leg kicks, and it allows me to get at a distance really quickly, and the dog is secure about staying on the spot to do leg kicks. This is in a competition, an example of using it. Another example in a freestyle routine. This is a novice routine. This was a behavior I taught Cabo for his last routine, and he was having trouble balancing with his paw on the cane, so I used the platform. And what resulted was a lot cooler behavior than I ever envisioned we would get out of it. And for those of you familiar with the TV medley routine, this is how I trained staring at the TV with a platform. And then in a more recent routine, I wanted a hind leg pivot on a platform. So to initially teach it, I used a small platform that really made it easy for the dog to understand just to keep 2 feet on, using a target stick initially, and then progressing to just a hand signal. Then once I had that behavior, I could transfer it over to the proc, which actually was much more difficult to do the behavior on, which was a suitcase. So an example of how I've used platforms for tricks for different types of behaviors for freestyle. Hello, listen to me, baby. Okay, so let's talk about what are the qualities of a platform that can be beneficial for training. Overall, a basic platform that would allow you to do a lot of different things with, you want a height that's low enough for the dog to easily step on and off. There are some exceptions to this, but I'm going to just talk generally about if I was going to have one platform for training, what the qualities would be. The height is sufficient that the dog actually considers the edge a boundary that naturally prompts them to stay on it. How many of you, and I've done this too in the past, have used like a mat or a rug to try to teach a dog like go someplace? Right, okay. How many of you have seen that the dog never actually contains themselves totally on it? Right. The reason is there's nothing natural about that target that tells the dog how to contain their body. They'll lay half off, half on. So it can be a good target, but it's not precise. The other thing is they don't naturally have an enjoyment of it, whereas for some reason with the platform they do. They like being up on things. The surface is something that you want to provide the dog with traction. So if they hit it at speed, they're not going to slide off of it and scare them. Now, one exception to that is, and you'll see this in my puppy videos really quickly, is when I introduce puppies to a platform, I purposely have a slick surface because I get 2 things done at once. They get socialized to how to balance on a slick surface, and they love it. So by introducing them on a surface that isn't really good traction, they immediately learn how to balance their body on a slick surface and not at all be afraid because they're offering the behavior. They're getting on it on their own. But normally, once I actually start training behaviors with a platform, I do want one that if the dog hits with energy, they're not going to slide. I want them to be able to stick once they get on there. The platform remains stable. It's not something that's going to rock a lot. Now again, you could use a platform that is not real stable to socialize a dog to feeling good about getting on a platform. And an example would be a teeter effect, or for those of you that were in Kay's lab, the ball. It's socializing the dog to how to use their muscles and be really confident on something like that. But for the purpose of training behaviors on the platform, I want that platform stable. I don't want it rocking. I don't want it making a lot of noise or anything. The width and the length of this platform are conducive to what you want to do with it. So an example would be, how many do competitive obedience? Anybody in here? You're going to love this presentation. Yeah. You're going to have light bulb moments and go, oh my God. Yeah. Signal exercise, go out. Okay, so if you wanted to train the go out, turn and sit, and you used a platform to teach this, you use a platform that is just big enough for the dog to step on, turn, rotate, and sit. And you automatically teach a very tight turn and sit because the dog gets used to that muscle movement when you call them for the turn and sit. If you want the dog to do the signal exercise, you want the dog to be able to down and sit and stand in one place, you have one that's very comfortable for the dog to do a stand and a down on, but narrow enough that it keeps them straight. Does that make sense? Right. So you look at what the behavior is you want to get. So an example would have been that little hind leg pivot that Listo was doing. If I had used a large platform, that would have been harder to teach. But by using one that he could only really fit 2 legs comfortably on, I could very quickly get clicks for what I wanted as an end goal. But if I put down a stand-sized platform, guess what he's going to do? He's going to get all 4 feet on it. So if I want to get a different behavior, I can change the platform and help the dog try something different. So when I started using platforms, I was using a lot of the exercise steps that you see. They're really cool because they're lightweight. You can like hose them off. They've got good traction, and if they don't, you can put some traction on the top. But of course, they come in some standard sizes, and they're actually, that's what Cabo was doing those leg kicks on. It's a really nice size for a general platform. But since then, I've kind of taken platforms even to a new level, and I find myself with all these different size platforms now. But again, you're basically looking at what do I want to do with the platform, and that designates the size. So we'll just go through a few examples of the dimensions, if I can get my computer to work. So obviously on a stand platform, you want the space is comfortable for the dog to have all 4 feet on balanced. If you're working on that and they never quite seem to keep all 4 feet off, well, a hind foot goes off, it's probably not long enough, or maybe it's too narrow. If your goal on that stand is to have precise position, using it for heel, and the dog continues to not be precise, it's not narrow enough to keep them straight. So you're always reevaluating when you're using them. Am I not getting my behavior because my platform actually isn't helping me as best it could? And the sit platform would obviously be a space that that individual dog can sit comfortably, but the platform prompts them to stay nice and tight on one spot instead of sloppy. They're going to have a nice tight sit for precision. And then the hind end pivoting or the front end pivoting. So you could do the same stool that Listo learned a hind leg pivot on. You could use that for front legs. So two front feet on there and teaching the hind end to go all the way around, which is a really cool exercise for awareness of body parts to do those kind of pivots. So there's another dog enjoying his natural platform out in the world. So I've gone from using a lot of exercise type equipment, exercise step equipment, to making my own platforms because then it's more, it gives me more variety with what I can do. What's really true, though, is a dog will cue to a specific behavior that you've trained on a platform. So for instance, when I put that stool down, there's no way I would try to teach anything else other than hind leg work with Listo on that, because he sees that, he thinks he's doing hind leg pivot work. So if I wanted to teach front feet pivot, I need to use a different platform that looks a little different. So maybe a little round one that is front feet can fit, something like that, because I know that he's going to just be sucked into going into his hind leg work on that. The same Cabo learned front feet on that stool. So on that stool, there's no way I would attempt to teach hind leg work. These anti-fatigue mats, which is what it's up here on the stage, if you go to like Costco or Sam's Club, they're fairly inexpensive, and you can literally cut them to any size you want. And they're really lightweight, and they're convenient. So, I mean, I'm kind of getting into more what's convenient to haul around maybe to a different environment, and obviously less expensive because I want a lot of different sizes. So my puppy, who was on the first slide, she's growing, obviously. You know, so I've started platform work with her since she was 4 weeks old. So as I've gotten into a little more formal platform work, every week I feel like I'm making her a new platform. You know, so thank goodness they're cheap, but I'm saving them for other puppies. Okay, so we all as clicker trainers know that one of the wonderful things about clicker training is a dog offering behavior. Well, for Freestyle, oh my God, this is really important. And this is how we get really cool tricks and really cool behaviors. Because if the dog isn't wanting to offer, it's hard for them to help us invent something. And I mean, offering behavior is huge to me when I'm developing a new routine. I might have something in mind to do with a prop, and the dog ends up telling me, you know what, I think we could do this. And the pivot that Cabo did around the cane is a good example. So I was envisioning just him putting his paw up on that cane and remaining stable. I thought it looked really pretty, right? Well, one day while I was practicing that, I was fumbling to get a reward, and I sidestepped to reach it, and he followed me in heel 2 steps. Click! You know, I was like, oh my God, how did he keep his paw up there and follow me? Obviously, he was showing me, look what I can do, which was pretty cool. So obviously, he gave me a vision for a really cool behavior, but I didn't start out thinking that that's what it would be. So offering behavior is really important to me in my sport. It also keeps a dog fresh. The whole seeker circuit that you've heard talked about, in the idea of I'm seeking, I'm discovering, what can I do to make you click, is a very healthy thing for a dog to keep up. And in some dog sports, once a dog learns all the basic behaviors it's going to do, and then it's going to just repeat those for a few years as they compete, you can sometimes lose offering behavior because they're just doing the same stuff over and over again. And I think it's really healthy for a dog to continue to have exercises where they get to offer behavior. It stimulates them really well. Okay, it also develops an intensity to perform because I've got this young dog, and you'll see puppies in a second, and you are going to be amazed. So here are these little puppies in a litter that are so intense, and they're containing their intensity and trying to figure out what they can do to make the click happen. Whereas we all know what puppies are like. I mean, usually you have a really short attention span, and even if you're getting them interested in clicking, they're still going to be moving around and all over the place. So the platform is kind of a platform, no pun intended, a way of containing that juvenile energy, but it creates this intensity, which I'm really happy to see, and I started noticing that, so I started using it more for that in young dogs. Well, that intensity equates to attention to the handler without contact. So if I sit in front of a puppy and I've got a whole bunch of food, what's that puppy going to do? He's going to come and be all over me. But by using a platform, the puppy learns really quickly that I want to be on the platform because that's what pays off. So the puppy already is learning, wow, I see all this good stuff, but I'm going to leave it and go perform. That's a huge skill for a young puppy to learn, is how to walk away from the food and offer behavior instead of always wanting to be on you and on top of you. So in a way, this little puppies are being prepared for distance work. The other cool thing about a platform is it teaches individual foot awareness. So when you're first introducing a platform and it's at first 1 foot on, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, they're starting to be aware of what each foot is doing. Very important for an agility dog, a freestyle dog for sure. The more awareness they have of their body, the easier it is going to be for you to train some of the more difficult behaviors in your sport. And as I mentioned earlier, it can develop confidence on surfaces just because the surface the dog wants to be on happens to be challenging to them, and they learn how to just deal with that on their own without us even messing with them. So let's get some videos of platform puppies, but first we all have to go, aw, aw. Michelle's new puppy. I miss her so bad. I didn't want to leave home. Okay, this is a Brittany litter, and this is the 3rd time that they've done platforms. They are 6 weeks old. Now, I'm not clicking one thing. I'm clicking anything to do with the platform. So I don't want to click the same thing because I'm trying to teach them how to offer behaviors. So besides the fact that they're really cute at offering behavior, look at the intensity already towards performing and without being all over me. There's intensity and excitement, and it's all contained. It sounded like Debbie to me, so it got on the phone there. I can't see their sex from this angle. Now, tempting to click that, but no. I wanted to relate some way to the platform right now.
But there was just an article out recently that said that there was a different yeah, so I don't know if this is a coincidence or if that's yeah, it's got a really cute. Whoa!
Anything to do, but obviously one of the things that I would help develop is all 4 feet on the platform, but anything a little different. I don't want to click the same thing every time. Later on, I do want to get all 4 feet on the platform for sure. My goal here is to alter, if you've heard of 101 Things to Do with a Box, it's kind of like that, yeah.
Get on the box.
Remove the box! Wow, that was a really good move.
He thinks real hard and the tail drops.
Yes. Because my goal of this is to teach them how to offer behavior. So my goal here is I want the puppies to have a way to be intense about playing the clicker game, but right now I don't want to put them on a direction that will start turning into a default. So a really good example, if you teach a platform, the very first thing you teach is a sit, it'll really be a strong default for some reason. So no matter what you're going to do with platforms, I advise to not use a sit for the first thing. If you are going to go down the road of raising criteria and getting a specific behavior, a stand is a really good default. Unless you're in competitive obedience and you know you never want to use that stand. But there's places you can use the stand on a platform for your signal exercise. Exactly. And the moving stand. Exactly. So you're in motion and healing, and you just keep walking, and that platform helps them learn how to just stick it. And you can walk fast. You don't have to be all weird about it, you know. Exactly. So I'm using the platform as a method of teaching these puppies how to offer. So it's like 101 Things to Do with the Box, but at the same time, they're learning to love their platform. The platform is like, oh my God, the platform's here. You know, it's a really cool thing, and I'm going to use that later, which you're going to see. Now this next video is of the Springer litter, and there's 2 puppies on this video, and these are 7 weeks old. So this is also their 3rd platform session. Did you see her hang foot? Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I mean, you know, it's so much fun to do, but I was amazed myself at how much offering I was getting. I taught them how to eat out of the hand at 4 weeks, and then their 5th week was their first platform session. And a little bit of a target stick, nose touch to a target stick, but today I'm just showing you all the platform stuff, yeah. They love, the target stick thing goes really good, but it's night and day, the platform, the puppies just love it. It seems so easy for them to focus on versus at their age trying to focus on a target stick. It's a drawer, right, exactly. It's an upside-down plastic drawer from one of those little storage sets. And it is slippery. So, at this stage, I like using something that the puppy's also socializing themselves to, how to balance with their feet on a slick surface. So you see how upset she was about falling off. That's the cool thing. So she's learning some athletic skills. She's learning some balance skills at the same time that we're teaching her how to offer behavior. This is another puppy. Yeah, and look how focused. Yeah. She's pushing this back with her. If you can't tell, she backed up onto it. Yeah. Not onto it, but against it. So the other thing that was really wonderful about doing these 2 litters was how quickly you learn the individual personalities doing this. It made it a lot easier for me to select my puppy. The one without the whining, yes, yes. And in the other litter, the Brittany litter, there were 2 puppies that were very vocal. And you learn about the natural instinct on a puppy when you do withhold the click a little bit. And do they get a little frustrated quickly and vocalize? So you're right. This was a puppy I didn't want to consider because she would very much so start whining. She did a good job, but her natural thing was to do a lot of vocalization. The other kind of side note on this is all the people that got a puppy from these litters were so enthralled with seeing the videos that they've taken up clicker training. They're like buying things to learn about it because they were so amazed at looking at it. So it's kind of cool. It's spreading the news about things you can do. Okay, any questions about what was just happening with those 2 videos? Okay, so it was very simple, an exercise in how to focus, how to offer behavior and socialize to something at the same time, and start creating the platform to be this really strong, natural cue. Question in front? No one get.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, do I remember that you don't ever put food on the floor? Some people might put food on the floor because puppies.
You could do that at this age, even if I was someone that did that a lot, and I don't do much of that with my own dogs because I've seen it carry over to wanting to check out little pieces of fluff on the floor and stuff. But even if you did that, at this age, that's kind of hard to do too well because their sight isn't that good. Yeah, so, they don't see things that well. So if you did it, you'd want something that showed up really well on what surface, and you wouldn't want to throw it very far because they can't see very far yet. So there's a challenge to starting them this young. The first litter of the Brittany's, we started them at 4 weeks. And it really took them a little to learn how to eat from the hand. That was actually a lesson because they're not used to that. It's where's my little bowl of gruel, and it's messy because you're using really soft stuff. As they get a little older, then it can be a little firmer and it's easier to deal with. The good news is, because they can't see that well, when you do drop it all over the place, they don't go scavenge it, because they can't even notice that it just dropped. But it's a very messy proposition. If I was to do it again with another litter that young, I think I would just do 5 weeks, start at 5 weeks, because it isn't like there was that much gain by starting at 4 weeks. Yeah, and at 5 weeks, they had more physical agility at eating from your hand and could see a little better and things like that. So I don't feel that there's a real need to start that early. We just picked 4 weeks to start. You had a question. I stuck with one. Made it really simple. Yeah. Because, again, these puppies were going to different venues, right? So the Springer puppies, all of them but one were going to show homes. And I wanted to make sure I didn't create anything that would cause a problem with that. So a default sit would have been a real problem for that. But what I did do with the couple puppies that I knew were going to show homes, I started developing a pose more. So one of the reasons the 2 show homes that were in California were just blown away by the video because, of course, they're show people and they are always trying to figure out how to get a nice pose. And they're going, you've got the best pose I've ever had on my dogs, and they're just, 8 weeks old. So that really intrigued them at how well that was working. And the platform, of course, helps contain the dog, versus the dog coming at you and trying to get the pose. So I didn't want to do with the Brittany litter, same thing. It was basically a field trial litter. And a lot of people were going to do field work. So I didn't want to actually start shaping particular behaviors. Yeah, oh yeah. And the next video I have of Deja, you see I have a little miniature dog walk to let her figure out a little bit of socialization on that. Any other questions on? So this is a little bit of progress with Deja after the litter left, and this is like starting at she's about 8.5 weeks here. So I've moved to a smaller platform, and I'm starting to just decide what I want to do. Now this platform, I introduced to her at 8 weeks, and you're going to see it's already a little small for her. But I'm still clicking different things. So this particular session was different things. So I just introduced this little puppy dog walk. So she's sliding on that, but you'll see how quickly on her own, even though she's having trouble dealing with it, she figures out how to get herself on this dog walk. That's pretty cool. So then this is what I'm progressing to with her now, which is on the side of me on a platform. Now that's a whole new thing to her. Everything up to this point has been facing me. So this is a challenge for her to figure out how to look up looking to the side. That's a new skill. A new skill is parallel beside me and look up. Because before I've been straight in front of her. Does that make sense? Very difficult skill for her to learn that I can be parallel to Michelle and look up at her. Now, yes, I'm clicking for you being straight, and hopefully you're straight for a second looking up, but right now I'm just trying to help her understand about being parallel to me because she wants to face me, doesn't she? That's what's happened so far, is she's been out ahead of me. So this is now a challenge for her to figure out the platform when it's not in front of me. Because she, of course, wants to look at me, and she can't see me very easily from these angles. So some of the clicking I'm doing, she's not looking up, but I'm clicking for her getting her hind end up on that platform and beginning to be square. And as soon as she is looking up, I'm certainly wanting to get clicks in while she's in that position looking up. Yeah, that was really.
That's a good girl.
And that was the second session of doing this, where she finally stuck it and stayed for a moment. So, of course, freestyle, we have to do all the sides. So have to teach both sides right from the beginning. So the cool thing through all this is I get to just stand up straight, don't I? So I get to just stand there and give her the target that she needs to learn to line up on. When we're trying to manipulate and help the dogs be straight, we're bent over, we're crooked, we're not really giving them the target that they should be learning. So the cool thing about the platform is I get to give her the visual target to line up to right from the beginning. I get to stand up straight with my hips square, and wherever that platform is, it's going to put her straight. She's getting inventive.
You're doing very nice spins. Very nice spins. Yeah. Very good.
Platforms can also teach very tight spins. So now I'm going to a narrower one, now that she got the idea how to look up, because it's going to be more difficult now with the narrow one. She didn't have the room on the platform to sidestep around. But what's the narrow platform going to do for my precision? It's going to take it tighter, exactly. So if I make a platform the size of her stand, it's going to make much more precision in her position next to me. A way to introduce in between. This has turned into her favorite thing, by the way. She somehow decides that that's a good one. Not yet. Yeah, I'll wait until, now here, I've set 2 out, and as she heads to the next platform, I can go ahead and start adding my cue. Right. As I think she's about to do it, I can certainly throw it out. So watch, the next time she decides on her own to go to the other platform, you'll hear me say heel.
Good close. Good close. Very nice, girl. Heel. Heel.
There's no harm in saying it because I know she's heading there. But I'm not formally making a big deal of adding the cues. I'm just starting to let her hear the words a bit while she's doing it. At this point, they mean nothing to her. Yeah.
Close.
It looks like they do, doesn't it? It looks like, but what's causing the behavior? The platform, right? So it looks like it does because I know she's going to go there, and I get to say close, and she goes boop. So it looks like she knows, but she doesn't. I could be saying spaghetti, and she's going. I know the platform is creating the behavior I want to click, but it's a way to introduce the cue to her. And the reason I like to start with 2 very soon is to have her start having the idea that these words I start throwing out mean different things. It doesn't just mean the visual platform, if that makes sense. It doesn't just mean go get on your platform. It actually means a position. Okay, so let's just talk briefly about offering behavior. And the reason that, for freestyle especially, to me it's really important to get a dog understanding how to offer, because then really quickly you can create something. So this is, let me pause it a second. This is the very first session. You just saw the first click for this. So I had a goal of, can I teach Listo to wrap his paw around an object? And I'm just using a plastic baseball bat here. He's never seen this baseball bat before, okay? But I do have a goal here. This is not offering. This is offering as I have criteria that I'm trying to develop. So I've got a goal in my mind. He does at one point do something else really cute, and I do click it because I couldn't resist. Okay. So at first, I'm just getting him to understand it's paw, not mouth. So the way I have to raise this criteria is that it isn't just the paw on it. Very soon I want him to start understanding it's to wrap the paw a bit around it. It isn't, and it's not motion on it. I don't want him striking at it and continuing to strike. So I'm going to try to click the time when his paws stand still on it for a bit. So that was important that I withheld those clicks when he was scratching at it. But because he's a dog that will offer behavior, does he stop offering? No. My mouth. I use a mouth click. Thank you. So I'm going to make you think for a second. What have I done to help facilitate that he does the right thing? Placement of reward. There's something else I've done. What position is he in? He's sitting. So what can I do to help him towards my goal? So if he's moving around, a little harder for him to do the wrap, isn't it? If he's sitting, it'll be physically easier for him to be stationary and wrap. So I do a lot of strategic food placement. See, and one of the reasons I like to do that is if he's over here and I place it over here, he's set up really good for his next offer. And if I throw it, I might get him running back and trying something different. So I'm kind of a lazy trainer in that I kind of want to go forward quickly so I can take where I put that reward and hopefully help him get to my goal quicker by just where I place it. So that's looking pretty good, isn't it? Yeah, how many in a row? And I've also figured out that he wants to do it with his left paw. So if I envision with my brain his right paw, who cares? Let him do it with whatever paw he's most comfortable with. So that was the first session, took 8 minutes, and I got the paw wrap. Hold on, let me pause this. What's your question?
Are you like tracking that? Do you have it clock? Are you saying 8 minutes and going over?
No, I look at it, I'll go as long as the dog's still engaged. If I feel like the dog is losing a little interest or, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous, you're going way too long. Listo is a dog that can go for a long time. Whereas Cabo, I would never have gone 8 minutes with my Springer. Yeah. I'm alone. Yeah, for that I was alone. I just set up a tripod. Yeah. And so then I just looked back over the footage to see how long it was. Right, you could go back and review, and you could keep a log, and you can track. I kind of do that in my head really well, meaning knowing where I got with a session and where I do next. If I have some specifics that happen, I will jot them down, but I don't do a whole bunch of detailed tracking. Yeah. Okay, so this is actually giving a prop and saying, show me what you can do. Okay, so this is where offering behaviors helps you figure out for freestyle, what could I do with this prop? And let him kind of tell me what might be fun. So first I just engage him in the prop. He's never seen the suitcase before. So anything relating to the prop, I want to make sure I click. But I want it to be different. So I don't want to keep clicking because you saw how quickly he learned a behavior. If I click the same thing too many times in a row, I'm going to be in trouble. He's going to go down that road and not show me something else.
What happened there?
So that's when it gets hard. So of course when I saw that I went, oh my God, that's wonderful. So you want to keep clicking it, right? But I know I can get that now. So he does it a couple more times and I click it, but I have to make myself go, click something else because I want to see what else could we do with this suitcase. If I too quickly show him this new prop and click the same thing, I'm going to have a hard time getting him to offer something else. Does that make sense? Yes.
Do you make it clear to the dog which session the repeating the behavior is going to be which session?
the way I do it, I have never developed a cue, because I just never took the time to do it, to say invent. The way I do it for Freestyle is I offer them a new object to invent with. So I haven't developed a skill in my dogs, and I'd like to try it with my puppy, to actually give a cue that says there's no prop, right? It's just open floor, yeah, invent, but I haven't done that. So with Freestyle, usually I'm developing a routine that's going to have a theme of some sort. So it's a very easy thing to develop. New object, show me what you can do with it. So that's worked real well for me so far, to not need the other, but you can do that. You can get the dog to understand a cue that means show me something else. All I have to do is put down a new object and click a couple different things, and they'll continue to go.
That's it.
Yeah, my husband couldn't stop laughing and shaking the camera. Yeah, I did. But now watch. I'm gonna change the scenario a little bit to try to help him do something else. I just put him in a place where he couldn't back up on it, so I could click something else. So by withholding, I got more than just the head. So we got a paw, too. Okay, so basically, it's just that is important to me as far as how in my sport I can take offering to a really good level and help create a routine. So basically, my dogs help me create a routine. So, I mean, it's every routine I've done so far, my dog has changed something for me. So let's try this. So, great idea. Better idea than me. So my dogs are my co-choreographers, I guess. Okay, so the other thing that's really cool, and the obedience people will like watching this too. So I'm just showing you a few behaviors that at a distance help him remain on the spot. So I'm just putting him through a few behaviors that he knows on a platform, and it enables him to have a whole bunch of energy and excitement, but I don't have to worry in any way that he's going to come forward. He's going to move from the spot.
Sit up, good. Down. Good. Down, down. Pull. Good. Good. Stand back. Pull. Good. Stand. Good. Stand. About. Pull. Head. Down head. Down head. Good. Down head. Front. Pull. Good. Back. Down. Good. Good. Pull.
Yes, yeah. And that mat isn't made for a turn, but he is so into staying on his mat that he even stayed on it. But that isn't a spin as much as it is a position change for him. So that's a very advanced position in Freestyle that the dog faces away from you, and by using a platform, you get it really tight. And then you don't have to worry that when you're training it, it's kind of not really straight with you. So it's a really cool advanced behavior to be in a reverse position away from you and straight. Because, of course, the instinct in the dog is to look left or right when they can't see you. And so there's an example of where strategic reward really helps. So if when he's facing away, I click, I let him come to the right or the left a lot, what's he going to do in that position? Right. So for me to develop that in that position, I want him doing this, looking for the food. So when I click, I deliver it over the top of his head so he's looking up, and that just helps him think about remaining straight even with his head, not just his body. Yes? Yes. You just saw it. So, yeah, so he's on a platform, and he's looking for the clicks with excitement doing this, right? So if I have the reverse behavior, I can say about, he turns around and goes, where's that hand? They can't see you, okay? So they've got to trust that if I'm looking here, that's where it's going to appear when I hear the click. So you develop the habit in them. Then, now he has that habit. Then all I got to do, if he already knows back, which he did, is to be behind him and say back, 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 click, reward. So he understands staying in that position. Right, exactly. They all do because they can't see you. Now, another hint on that behavior. The whole time you're trying to do that, don't ever be quiet. They need to know where you are. So while you see me backing across the room, I'm going like this and he's following me backwards, I'm going back, 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 like a little sheep. I sound like a sheep because I want him to know where he can't see me. Yeah, so verbally I let him know where I am. Did you have a question, Aaron? Right. Not really, because I looked at that as more not his weakness but mine, because all I did was throw the thing down and say, oh, let me just show a few behaviors on the spot. Yeah, it isn't like I do that a lot, and he's got 2 cues for down as one for head down. So a couple times you notice I said down and he just bowed with his head down. That I didn't look at that as his fault. It looked at that as, I don't practice this at a distance that much, so I just kept talking to him. Yeah, I didn't look at it as a problem. And again, not taking the cue it wasn't like he wasn't working, you know what I mean? It wasn't like he's just standing there staring at me. He's trying his little heart out, so I'm not going to make a big deal out of that, but it's information for me. It's information like, I don't really have that clear to him of which behavior. Sure, I talked him through it really quickly just by giving him a repeat or another cue to help him. Like when I asked him to front when he was facing away, he turned and he started to come towards, even though he was on the platform, like hanging 10, he had little feet on the surfboard, and I just said, whoa, which helped him stand still, which to him, whoa just means stop, stop what you're doing. So let's talk about introducing the platform in general. For your basic stand or all 4 feet on the platform, like introducing anything new, your criteria is really low at first. Like with those puppies, the criteria at first, the first session was looking at it, sniffing it, getting anywhere near it. And anyone who's done some clicker training can visualize that very quickly you're going to have your dog put a paw on that. You can, again, by strategic reward placement, place it in a way that they may step up on it to get the reward. So maybe they looked at it and you clicked, and the way you held the reward got a foot up on it. While they're eating and they're still on it, you can click again. So there are some things you can do to promote feet on. But you very quickly, with a platform, if it's the size for a dog to comfortably stand, you can get 4 feet on a platform very quickly. It's not a hard thing to do. So facing, obviously, is a lot easier. So in this picture, for my puppy, especially because she's so little, that's actually pretty hard for her to look up while she's in that position. But for her to get all 4 feet on facing me was not that hard for her, or any dog. It's a pretty quick thing. But you want to progress quickly with whatever your default is going to be, instead of creating a default of 2 paws on. Does that make sense? Unless you want that to be your default. So, and again, a little word of warning about sits on a platform. They turn into a very strong default. That's kind of hard then to get a stand. So if you want to use the stand, don't start with that. This is a cute picture sent by somebody who went to one of my seminars of her dogs. she went right out and bought a whole bunch of exercise platforms. Okay, the magnetized dog. What do I mean by a magnetized dog? I don't put a cue on get on the platform. I want it automatic. So I want that if I put a platform down, my dog is on it. I have no reason to put a cue on it. I want it so strong that that dog wants the platform. Then all I have to do is make sure that if I want to do something without the platform, I either lean it up on the wall. That's not good enough for Listo. He'll climb up the wall. So I just have to move it out of our workspace a little bit so he knows we're not working on the platform. And a lot of people, they go too quickly, and then they wonder why the platform isn't helping them as much as it could. You want that platform to be a magnet. It's like you can't keep the dog off of it. The way you keep that response is you don't leave a platform lying around. Because that means what? The dog's going to go get on it and not get rewarded. And you're going to lose the power. It would be like not feeding for every click. Put it that way. It's like you want that platform to be just, oh, yeehaw, my platform. So you want to make it strong. No cue. I don't put any cue on it, and I remove the platform. So I wanted to kind of show people what a magnetized dog was, and I would just videotape me putting some platforms down and up, and then Listo did this really cute thing, which really pointed out how magnetized a dog can be. So basically, if I set it down, he should just get on it. And if I pick one up, he should go run and get on it, and it's like, he just wants it. It's like everything he wants. So I'm not going to ever tell a dog to get off. I'm just going to, in a relaxed way, get them off so that I can pick them up. But then sometimes you have trouble getting them up. And what did that make me think of when I saw him do that? New routine. Yeah, I never thought about that he was that magnetized to it. So that's pretty cool. But it should be pretty much automatic. If it's not, and you put the platform down, the dog kind of lackadaisically walks over and gets on it. It'll be a tool, but it won't be that strong of a tool for you. You really want that dog wanting to get on that platform and use energy. So for Freestyle, I mean, this is a wonderful tool to teach precise positions. And that carries over for rally, competitive obedience, even some other dog sports where somebody wants precision in a position around the body. It's a really cool tool. I've only been using it this way for the last couple of years, and it's really fantastic. So in Freestyle, we have tons of positions. So it's like the dog, as it advances, in any position you can imagine the dog around your body, that's the position you can use for Freestyle and get judged as a separate position as you perform in a routine. And the platform enables you to do that. So here's just some examples during routines. Obviously, you have basic left side heel, but we also have right side heel. We have a behind position, and we have facing away, following. But all these initial positions can be taught really easily with a platform, and the behind position is one of the hardest to teach. The reason is you can't see the dog. So you have to actually have a mirror to teach this well. Or if I'm giving you a target, you're the dog, and this is the target. I want the target to be lined up with my body so you stay straight. And I'm trying to see what you're doing to reward you. What just happened to my target? It's not the right target, is it? So to really effectively teach a behind position, you do need a mirror or the window front of a store where you can see your reflection, that sort of thing. But with a platform, it's a really easy way to introduce it because the dog will be correct. You don't have to worry about that, yes. I'm coming to that, yeah. Because you know what? That's the first question everyone has. Well, when can I get rid of the platform? Right. Yeah, never. You have to take it with you everywhere. Okay, so let's just talk about positions, and this will be the example of showing how you would remove the platform, how you progress to not using the platform. So step one basically is experiencing each position on the platform. So you'll create a reinforcement history in the dog of being in this position. So you saw little Deja in her right and left heels. She's in a position, she's not really doing anything, but she's in that position, and she sees my body in these positions. Basically, the dog isn't doing a thing, but maintaining itself and looking at you, seeing you in these positions. So the high-level criteria for this step 1 is that the dog can focus on me in these positions. So they're attentive. And I'm going to move around the dog. So, and I'm going to show a video in a second, but of course, showing video with a trained dog is always a little funky. But, so basically, I should be able to have the dog hold on platform naturally, and if I do this, the dog maintains looking at me while I go to another position. Does this make sense? So the dog is seeing me in all these different positions. And even a brand new dog, I can introduce the difficult position. I can introduce that. I can introduce the behind position. All the dog's learning is, in all these weird positions, I can look up at my mom and get clicked and rewarded. So it's just introducing to them the different viewpoints they're going to have around me. Can I put the word on it? I'm not going to hurt anything. I'm not going to say that's going to help the dog, but it's not going to hurt anything. If the dog's doing really well and I can move around, I'm not going to hurt anything by saying close, because I know he's there. It's not going to hurt anything, but there's no need to add cues at this point. Step 2 is finding these positions from off the platform. So if I have a dog that knows how to wait, informal wait, I can put him on a wait. I get into the position. So what are they seeing? They're seeing the target, aren't they? They're not seeing me go, come over here, So they're seeing the target, and I can say, okay, or whatever I can say to release the dog. Where is he going to go? The platform. So as he gets used to this, I can actually start saying, heel. Because anytime I just say, okay, or let's go, I can go, heel. And he's going to come up and start relating to coming up into a heel and stopping. Does this make sense? Okay, the same. Now, if it's a dog that doesn't know a wait, I just have somebody hold him. So I just, here, puppy, put the puppy, somebody's gently holding him. I come here, let her go! And I've got that magnetized dog. So, yes, and that's what this next video will show you here. I don't know why my computer's being lazy. Okay, so this is just an example of the step 1 is just the dog is in the position and paying attention. Very simple. The attention thing would be something that you still would want to work on before going to step 2. So you don't want a dog that's just standing there looking ahead. You want a dog that is following you and paying attention to you while their body remains in the position. Right. It sure does, doesn't it? Yeah, I've had those light bulb moments over the last year going, stupid me. Well, exactly. And you know what you can do is if someone says, is that really helping? My answer is it hurting? How is that hurting to let the dog have a little bit of a foundation of what you look like in these different positions? Yes. Yeah, you're going to see using more than one in a second. Yeah, and that's how you actually get away from the platforms, is by using more than one. Okay, so this is just altering the position. Now it's a front. And the big deal is that I get to present the target, don't I? I get to present it the way it looks. I'm not there going, please stand over here. Oh, you're not straight, or you're not that. I get to relax, give them the target that I want them to see as a finished product. Now, my goal in this behind position is that he's looking up, not at my ass. And so that does take a mirror, to time your clicks when they're looking up. Otherwise, you will get dogs that look like they're looking like right between the top of your legs, and it's a little embarrassing. Yeah. Exactly. Then your ass, it wouldn't be a problem, yeah. Probably couldn't see past my ass to my head, right? So here's step 2, where he's just put on a weight, okay? And as soon as he'll move at my first, because wait to my dogs just means wait until I tell you to move. So then I can start saying front, I can start saying heel, I can start saying the words that mean get on your platform to the dog. Obviously, the platform is the cue at this point, but is it hurting him to see the target, move into the target position, and guess what? He's correct every time. He's always correct. So he's always going to get clicked and rewarded for that position. If he's not correct, it means he's not on the platform. So it means I haven't given him the right size platform or it's not in the correct place. Yes? The weight? Sure. Usually with my dogs, I talk them through. I love anticipation. In fact, I actually want to do a presentation on anticipation. I love it. So when I see my dog bust the weight, the old traditional trainer in me from years ago, but I love it. I've learned to really love it, and I go, God, isn't that cool that he wanted the platform so much? So I might go, if I'm on my own, right, come back here, say wait, and I might actually tie him to something. Wait, good wait, and food. I don't think I'd click it because he knows wait, and he's just a little goosey. So I might even talk him through it. Most of my dogs I can talk through anticipation by going, wait, because I also don't want him coming right when I just stand still. I want him to be able to hear the new cue, which theoretically the dog doesn't know. Wait, heel. Make sense? Yeah. Exactly. And if your weight's that weak that you can't talk them through it, or just go back once or twice without calling them, then it probably needs more work. And if you wanted to continue right then, have someone hold the dog and just let him go. And then work on your weight separately so that you can do it alone. But I wouldn't get into, they already blew it. They came up here. I would just, what happened? Let's go back and wait. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Love anticipation. So here's going to a behind position. Again, you take a novice young dog. Most people wouldn't be working on this with a young dog, but you can with a platform. You don't have to wait, and then it becomes very difficult to teach the behavior because you're starting from scratch. But if at a young age the dog is used to being behind you, seeing a certain target, and getting rewarded, then that's great. Oops. Okay, so step 3 would be using 2 platforms. Because as soon as you add another platform, like you saw with my puppy, I had one on each side of me, then you have the opportunity to have them actually start going, there's a certain word associated with these. Now, the puppy is so novice, she's not quite ready for that. But a dog that is a little more mature and has had a little more training, you can go pretty quickly on this. And it's a way to really see, is the dog starting to relate to these words? He's found it from all the different locations. So now, can I give him that other cue, and will he go to the other platform? That's the first step in him realizing he is going to a position. Does that make sense to you? It isn't just the platform. It's also the position. Of course, the platform's helping him get there. But it's helping him understand there's something different about this than just getting on the platform. There's something about taking a cue to go ahead and get on the next platform. So this is a really important step for the dog to start understanding. There's a discrimination here. It isn't just go to a platform, it's go to this position. And of course there is a platform there when you do this, because that's what's helping the dog be correct. So you can have 3, 4 platforms, and you, again, get to give them the target goal position that you are going to be in. You get to stand in the way that dog is going to see you stand to get into these positions. It's like light bulb moments for, competitive obedience. And, it's really cool. So if the dog has trouble doing this, it lets you know, he really doesn't quite, he's thinking only platforms. And if that means that you help them get to the other platform with a little bit of a hand cue to kind of get them started, that's usually all you need to do to get them started. But then, this is the step that you focus on them really listening to the verbal cue. And I never use my dog's name, by the way. So it's like they're really listening to heel, close, front, behind, whatever it is I'm working on. So they do start discriminating the position. The platform certainly is a draw and is helping them be correct. But once you get to 3 platforms, do you see how they really are discriminating? All the platforms are doing is helping them do it correctly, but they're listening to which one is it. Yes? Yes. Yeah. Who knows if that couldn't help. But again, the platform is a cue. Right, okay, it is a cue, and it's a crutch at this point still. Okay, so step 4 is the big question everyone always has at the beginning, is when do I get rid of the platform? So here are my prerequisites to trying to remove a platform. The position is on a verbal cue with me motionless. So I can stand like a zombie and say, heel, he'll go to heel. I can say front, he'll go to front. I can say close, he'll go to right side heel. I can say behind, I have it on verbal cue. The platforms obviously are helping him do it correctly. But he's got the idea of where these positions around me are. They immediately secure the position. So if I say front, he goes to front, and he doesn't like get off, on, then he gets front. He secures it right away. He goes directly to it, secures it. He knows that's the position. He's not like, trying out the little foot thing like my puppy's still doing. Like, how do I move my feet and all that? Definitely gets there. And during the transition, the dog's attentive. Now, some dogs who have habits of moving around from one position to the other with the head down and not looking at the handler, you'll probably not change that habit. But the dog is attentive in that you can tell right as they get the position, they come right up into attention at that point. But with a young dog, I actually want them watching me as they go from one to the other, which is another reason to not have a platform that's too high. If it's too high, what will they instinctively do? Look at the platform as they get on it. That's instinct. It's like you stepping up a staircase. So you saw Listo almost finding them with his feet while he's looking up. That's what I want to see. I want to see the dog using the platform, but it's just them feeling it versus looking at it anymore as they step on it. Correct. Initially, yes, and that's a really good question. How many of you have seen Morton and Cecilia's thing on the pivot, right? Okay, so if you have a dog that doesn't naturally start keeping their head in front of you as they go, and you want that, I would separately teach the pivot thing. Yes, because then they'll be more likely to use that. I personally also don't like a dog that heads that way, his head's going that way, then he turns around. I want him in view when he makes these changes. So yes, you could use a platform, which is exactly what Morton and Cecilia use on that. You could use a platform to teach more of how to pivot the hind end while the front end stays still. Like the one that Listo was doing his hind end pivot on, you could teach the front and how to make that pivot. But, yeah, very good question. Okay, so I want the dog also attentive. So this is removing the platform, and it's funny how when people are going to progress to something, it's like they always want to start in the new session. It's like stupid to do that. It's like start your session with where the dog is really doing well, then say, okay, I'm going to try to remove a platform. You don't like start a new day, new session with just no platforms. So what you're trying to do is help the dog be correct. And I consider it almost geographic. If I'm in this spot and I work on platforms for a minute or two, I'm going to come right back to this spot without the platform. He just did it here. Does that make sense? I think they relate to space very well. So first I have to get the platform out of there, right? Which with Listo isn't easy, but... Okay, so this is an example of starting that session where you want to remove the platform. Listo doesn't do really platforms anymore for this stuff, so he's being the demo dog, and as you can see, his front actually isn't as precise as I'd like it to be if I was training a new dog like this. So I start by just stacking a couple platforms and asking for the position where the platform is not. Now, the first time you do this, you might get a hesitation that the dog goes, "Where's my platform?" But if you actually did have good response to all the cues, if you can stand there like a zombie and say, "Heel close," they won't do that. They may get there and not quite finish it out, but they'll usually go. Am I going to click them for just going there? Oh, yeah. I'm not going to worry about precision when I first remove the platform, but then I can raise that criteria very quickly. But initially, that step of your visual aid is now gone. I want to make sure the dog is getting rewarded for getting in the general area of where I wanted him to go. Yes? Because as soon as you go low to where they're not an edge, it really isn't help to the dog. You'll get them standing half on, half off. Right. You can go to a little lower platform if you're using one like this. You go much lower than this, and they don't really consider it a platform. So this are 4 of those thin anti-fatigue mats. So that is about 4 inches, I would say. And I've found that unless it's a really little dog, so you get a little toy dog, and you probably can go to 3 mats easy. But they have to have enough of an edge they consider it that way. Or it starts turning into what you see how they do mats or towels or something like a rug remnant. They're never on it. They always have a piece of their body off. So you'll know when you've gone too low. But you can, but believe me, there's still the visual that it's there. So the big step is getting rid of the visual. So I noticed that I had a weakness in my front there. A little narrower I could have, yeah. Yeah. I mean, to me, it was a light bulb for me. His front's a little sloppy, isn't he? But I actually didn't train his positions on platforms. So I did a whole bunch of platform work with the dog for other things, and at least it was almost 7 now. So, I mean, a couple years ago is when I started looking at, you could actually train positions with this. So he knows platforms, but he's demoing stuff that he never did as a young dog. Okay, but that's the premise. Now, when I picked those platforms up and threw them to the side, he was comfortable staying on the one he was on. Does that make sense? You know, I might, if I was going to remove the third, have to actually go put them up a second, or he's going to try for them because you already know how magnetized he is. So that's kind of the process. It isn't just one day you take them out of there. You know, you keep giving the dog a little help, and over a series of maybe 3 sessions, you should be able to remove them. But if you start having one position be sloppy, you can always bring it back in and try to help clean it up a little bit. So here's another cool thing is, so he knows how to face away and about, and because he loves platforms, telling him about and having a platform available automatically gets a really cool behavior. So again, you say what size, what's the angle, what's the presentation of the platform, so he knows how to turn around and face away, but he knows I have a platform, so here I get another cool behavior. So this is how I taught him to go up backwards like that on me. So for the TV medley, for those who guys saw that, my next routine, he's actually doing that on my rear, which is really harder because there's nothing for him to climb up. So he has to do like a handstand to find my my rear with his hind legs. But it's very cool. So you can see that the platform can do a whole bunch of stuff. And like someone was saying, agility, helping a dog find a location where you would like them. Yeah, there's a lot of things. Every month I find something new. Distance is a really cool thing with platforms because if you have, thank you. What timing? I just went, I have 10 minutes. If you have a behavior on a platform, in 5 minutes you can be across the room doing it. That's really cool. I mean, when you don't use platforms and you try to get distance, it's this whole gradual thing, and then the dog starts creeping forward, and people start going, should I put a line on him? What should I do to keep him from coming forward? Because of course they want to be close to us. Why? All our training is close. All our rewarding, 98% of it, is close. So it's only normal that a dog wants to be close to you when they perform a behavior. So one of the things I'm doing with my new puppy is she's learning distance stuff on platforms really quickly, right away. So as she grows up, it isn't like, oh, now it's time for advanced. I want you to do distance. So as a little puppy, she's realizing distance is okay. I'm still going to get clicked, and the reward is going to come fairly quickly so that they're comfortable with that. But it's a really great way to introduce distance cues. And the dog remains in the spot. I like to run back and reward. I'll occasionally throw a reward. Usually it's a toy because I'm better at throwing balls than I am food. And if I throw something, I throw it behind. So they actually have to go further to go get it instead of getting to come forward at all. Distance is really difficult. And when you put a distance move in a routine, you have to really think about what's the behavior you're going to follow. Because if you follow that distance move with something that contradicts it, you'll start losing that distance behavior. So if after a distance move, the dog's going to run into you, you're going to start losing the distance move in the routine. Yeah. But the cool thing about signal exercise, you mean? Yeah, the signal exercise, so easy to teach on a platform. So easy. Oh, my God. Yeah, you talk about light bulb moment when I was like, oh, God, if I'd just been doing that back when I was doing competitive obedience, it would have been really easy. Okay, so distance training, again, just allows the handler to step back really quickly. So even when you're first teaching the behavior, once you got the behavior and you're clicking it, you get to immediately take a step back and let the dog realize they don't need you there. So we don't have time for this. You do? Okay, this is just a little bit of, let's see. This is just Listo doing a couple things at a distance. So I'm like across the room. So basically, the other thing I've really found cool about platforms is that you can take students that are just starting out, handlers that are just starting out, dogs that really don't have much training on them. They really don't have much control over their dog. And all of a sudden, that platform gives them control. And so, in seminars, I've had people that I'm thinking to myself, oh, this poor person, how are we going to let them even try some of this stuff? Bring out a platform. As soon as that dog understands about how good that is to be on there, all of a sudden the dog's energy gets focused. They have kind of control over the space their dog stays in. It's really cool. And a lot of seminars I've said, does anyone have an agility table? Because it works really good. And you don't even need the legs on it. You can just put it on the floor. But it's a way to keep a dog that's having trouble staying in one spot. They don't have much training on them, but then it gives the person an ability to try some different behaviors with their dog without us having to worry about it running around the facility while everybody else is doing good. So really quickly, Freestyle, eliminating the platform. We don't need to really go into that. So once a behavior is consistent, obviously put it on cue, as in all clicker training. What's really important, too, about this cue is that remember that the platform is a really strong cue. It's really strong. So because it's such a strong cue, and this picture, this gal taught her dog to do these distant spins in this routine on a platform. And I put her here because she didn't realize what she was doing. So she put the platform out when, and she would go spin when she gave her choreography cue and all that. Well, the dog was not necessarily listening to her cue. He was just on the platform, saw her do her thing and all. So when she took the platform away, the dog immediately ran in a little closer, and she had trouble getting the distance again. So we put the platform back out, and we went more to the dog really listening for just the spin instead of getting excited about her choreography, which was a conductor routine. Getting the dog to really take the cue instead of just that she moved and I get to spin on my platform. That way, when he did move forward, next and we withheld the click, it made sense to the dog. The dog understood why, moving in doesn't pay off. But she had to go back to the platform for a while to do that. So in the back, you mentioned about a lower platform. It can really be used in a transition, but it only makes sense if you're using a pretty substantial one to go to something like this. So if somebody's using a really substantial aerobic step platform, yes, certainly you could transition. Often starting dogs out on a platform, I've seen this not work very well to start platform work. They need something just a little more substance, and then very quickly they can go to something like this. Most dogs do fine, but in a lot of seminars I'm giving, I've doubled 2 of these up just to do the intro. So just for the dog learning 4 feet on, we've just made it double height, and then as soon as the dog has it, you can go right down to something like this. It works very well. Okay, we actually went through that. So we'll go on. So just briefly about, in freestyle, we're really lucky that, and of course agility, is table still used in agility? The agility table? Yeah, I mean, it is a platform, So in freestyle, we have the ability to use props, and they actually can be a platform if it fits the music and it fits the routine. So the judges of this routine in no way were saying, oh, it's a platform, and that's enabling that little dog to stand still when he does it. Of course they didn't. It's fit the routine, which was Jailhouse Rock, to have Elvis Presley, but it is a platform. How many people just saw Cruft's routines? The winner of Cruft's this year was Richard Curtis, and it was a surfboard routine. And he comes out, and I'm looking, I'm going, I don't believe it, Richard's using a platform. So he's got this really cute platform, pretty much just like this, and it's got cute little waves on the side of it. So the dog mounts the platform, and he's on a surfboard facing the dog, and they're going to Hawaii 5-0. And so then the dog turns around, and the dog turns around, the dog does a spin, and I'm laughing my head off going, those are easy behaviors because it's on a platform. Very entertaining, great routine, but it's like, oh man, talk about fail-safe responses, because he's using his platform in the ring, it's great. But it was great, it was perfect. It's like the dog was riding the waves on this platform. So in freestyle, we've got the ability to use that to our advantage. So here's a couple examples of what I certainly would consider platforms in a routine. In Listo's TV medley, the chair certainly was a platform. It turned into a really strong visual cue that was there that helped him perform that behavior, which is and he has to hold that for a second until he gets cued out of it. The little beagle on a chimney top, that was this cute thing to chimney, whatever that is, that song from Disney. And, of course, it's a platform. And then Listo's Hotel California routine, certainly, the suitcase was certainly a platform. And platforms can help a dog invent. So my puppy, like I said, she's decided that between the legs is a really cool thing, and she's decided that facing the wrong way is like her favorite thing. So I'm actually going to go ahead and let her develop that, because you don't see many freestyle dogs doing that position. So, yeah, cool. And I think we're out of time. That's a picture of using that stool for both hind or front leg pivot training. And let's see if we can fit in here. In using props that the dog plays with, it's extremely important that when you're going to do more than one behavior with a prop, that you really are consistent about the way the dog has a presentation of the prop, how they're set up in a routine for the prop, because if you don't, you'll get a lot of confusion over what to do with the prop. In Hotel California, I've got a whole slew of things that this dog does with the suitcase. But every single one of these behaviors has its own unique way he's presented to the prop in the routine. The way he's approaching it, the look of the prop, the shape it's in. And I never thought about this much. My dog Cabo taught me this lesson back when he did a Mac the Knife routine. And in that routine, he ran away from me and went around the stool that I used and came back and did this butt punch on me, hit me in the rear end. Really cute behavior. So then I go to Phantom of the Opera, and I had a candelabra. And I wanted him to jump the candelabra. You know, I thought, that's going to be really spectacular, right? So I asked him to jump the candelabra, and he goes around the candelabra. I was like, oh, darn. Okay, how am I going to do that? So I couldn't figure out, and he was an agility dog. He was a CDX. He knows how to jump. And I'm like, this is really weird. So without even realizing what I did, I had him on the other side of me, and I sent him, and he jumped it. I was like, now why did he jump at that time? Easy. The presentation in Mac the Knife, and he'd never known how to go around something. Okay, so that routine, he learned how to go around something. He was on my left side. So when he exited from my left side, of course I'm going to say around, but believe me, in the heat of a routine, words often don't mean much, right? What meant a lot to him was when I sent him away from me on my left side, he's supposed to go around and come back. As soon as I put him on the right side and said jump, it all made sense to him because he knows what jump is, but I didn't have this conflict with what I had taught him in the previous routine. Does that make sense? So since then, I've become extremely sensitive to when I teach a new routine and a prop is going to have a lot of use, I have to choreograph this in a way that my dog has no doubt what is coming next. So we got like 30 seconds, and I'll just show you. This is just a list of the different things in this routine, and I had to be really careful with this. So this is different things that he did with the suitcase. Of course, the one is the favorite behavior from offering. So the first one was to back up to it and knock it over. And then the hind leg pivot. So he does 2 hind leg pivots. And those were not too hard for him to know that those follow knocking the suitcase over. So the next thing that happens is he gets sent to the suitcase. And he's supposed to put his front feet up on it and stay facing away. It's easy. How different does it look? It's on the floor, right? So it's down. So that was easy for him to know. Trot towards suitcase down, front feet up, because later he's going to jump it and get into it. Now the next one is hide behind it. So he's going to jump it, but it's upright again. So he knows now that when he jumps it and I'm off to the side, it's high. Now, am I giving him these verbal cues too? Of course. But believe me, I want the choreography cues to help him more because you can't, over the music, necessarily know he's going to hear what you're saying. And it's like in a routine, your choreography cues are so strong they can make it easier on the dog. So the next one he's going to do with the suitcase is a jump over it at speed. What's different about the suitcase? Yeah, it's upright. So he in no way thinks he's going to do what behind it. He's not going to hide behind it. So a huge cue to him that helped him, besides making it a little higher jump too, but a huge cue for him that means keep going. Then the next one was pretty easy because, of course, I'm sitting on it. But the last one was kind of unique, but not too hard because the presentation is quite different. The suitcase is open. and that means go to bed. So all I say is consider the tool. Consider the tool. Thank you. Yes, I'll stay for questions.